why or do the comms and PR folks sometimes kill the heart and soul of the magic that makes a company, or is that wrong to say?
Give me an example.
I will say the spirit of the example, which is it feels like often the jobs of communications is to provide caution.
Mm-hmm.
It almost works together with legal to say
A shield.
we probably should not say this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be careful. Let's be careful. Now that makes sense, except in this modern world, authenticity
Mm-hmm.
uh, is extremely valuable, and revealing the beauty that is in the engineering, the beauty of the ideas, the chaos of the ideas, I think requires throwing caution to the wind to some degree.
I agree.
And I just find that, boy, I mean, it's really, so to push back on myself, I think it's an extremely difficult job because people hold you responsible if you're doing communications when you take risks.
Right.
And especially when they fail. So like it's a difficult job. So I understand why people become cautious. But to me, communications is about taking big risks and throwing caution to the wind at its best, because
Agreed.
your job is to communicate in the long term, communicate the genius, the joy, the genius of the product.
Right.
So, and that
Right.
sometimes is a tension with caution. Sorry. So I because I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of very interesting people and
Right.
interesting engineering teams and so on, I look at what they're doing and I look at what's being communicated, and it's just there's a mismatch because the communication is a lot more boring. It's like there's something very like just straight up boring about the way they're communicating because of caution.
Okay.
Anything,
You have just teed me up for another diatribe. Okay. I'm gonna get on my podium here.
yes, please.
It all comes out of the leader. If the leader doesn't know how to storytell, or the leader doesn't know how to do bold storytelling, then you get even more conservatism from the PR and communications folks, because they're always, so if you have not a bold leader, they're always going to be a filter, right? They're always going to try to smooth things out and take off the rough edges and try. So they're going to be even more, if you have a conservative messaging leader, you're going to have even a more conservative communications department. Why? Because they want to keep their jobs. Okay, it's really simple.
Yes,
they got to keep their jobs. If they say one wrong thing, it could be the end of it. So if you have a very conservative leader, they're going to be even more conservative. If you have a bold leader, there will be, they'll always take a little more conservative bent, but you're still going to have bold communications.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay, so it starts with the leader. Now, that said, when you think about the messages and the joy and revealing things, right? Many of these leaders don't tell great stories. So what we do at Future Shape, our investment firm, is we take those scientists, and the great minds and everything, and what do we surround them with? Marketing and communication people and storytellers, to give them the confidence to tell a much broader story about the impacts of what they're creating and how big the global change can be with those technologies. Because usually those leaders who created those technologies, they don't really know how to communicate really well, and they don't feel very comfortable in how they speak.
Yeah. So it's interesting because stories, and I'm a huge fan of stories.
Have you ever read the book Story?
No.
By Robert McKee?
Mm-mm.
You should read this. And this is what I read when I was 26. Story by Robert McKee. And it's a book all about the ways to do script writing, the prototypical types of scripts, drama, comedy, and how it's been shown over, millennia, how these stories are done. It's a fascinating thing, and it gives you an insight and it's written for, obviously Hollywood and movies and things like that, but it's incredibly useful for what we do as designers and engineers and technology, leaders.
There's some aspect in this modern day where, this podcast and so on, what I love is the humans behind the story too. So some part of the story is the human beings. So humor, drama, heartbreak, hope,
emotions.
That's not just about a painting a beautiful story that's flawless. It's
vulnerability.
Yep. It's being a dreamer, like over promising, and then failing, so changing your mind, realizing sort of just the whole of it, and then also being like, depending, of course, what your personality is, embracing the full richness and the complexity of the personality of the leader or the different people involved. I mean, that's all part of it. Like, you can't just present this beautiful, always Pleasantville view of a product. There has to be this this humanity that's part of it, the full roller coaster of the humanity, which I think has been very difficult for companies to embrace.
Right.
I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just an old school way of doing things. Like, people think, that we present a facade and, we generate the story and we tell the story, as opposed to sort of...
Well, we learn, especially in the technical world, we present the story as it's faster, it's smaller, it's longer battery life,
Yeah,
it's
right.
bits and numbers and and metrics. That resonates, sure, with other geeks. What resonates with the planet? It's all emotions, right? And if you can bring a great emotional story, but with a great rational story at the same time, why you should do this, and it's like, oh my God, you bring that superpower, that joy, then it all hangs.
And there's personal drama too, like the human,
right?
The
Here's
human,
the pain I had. Remember that thing.
and like, just you're you're obviously this extremely well-known human being that's behind a lot of these great inventions of the technology world, but you're also just a human being. You have a clearly like a distinct personality that comes through. Like, your eyes light up, just the way you communicate is you.
Thank you.
Some people are more stoic. Some people are
Sure.
like Elon is, all over the place, the chaos. Steve Jobs, there's a very, it's hard to put into words. I can be poetic and so on, but there's
Sure.
a very distinct, comes on stage,
Personality.
that personality is right there. That's not just the product. That's something else too.
Correct.
And like, you have to reveal that a little bit and allow people to reveal that a little bit and just let them be themselves.
Well, look, why do I think your podcast is so amazing? Because you are yourself. You talk about yourself, you bring your emotions into it, and you don't modulate it. You're you, right? It comes through. It's true. It feels right. You are you. You dress the way you want to dress. You say, "This is me, and this is all of me," and you become vulnerable, right?
It's much easier to do a podcast like that than run a very large company.
Correct.
Where a lot of people would feel the pain if you say something stupid.
Right.
It's much more easy to be afraid,
right,
and be careful. So, but nevertheless, the same applies. Authenticity and risk taking is the only way, unfortunately, to be successful in the long term.